because All right, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Discussions in Education. This is Tony Alberts. With me today, Jimmy Brown.
Hey, what's up, everyone?
Of Raider Nation podcast.
Yeah, One Nation Raiders, of course. Yes.
Yeah, right.
Uh-huh.
They're doing good this year.
Yes. So far,
Right,
one game is okay. I'll take that.
Hey, it's better than a lot of other starts out there.
Right.
All right, so it's been a bit for these. I'm sure I'll do another monologue cast talking about kind of just what's happened in the past month or so. Got a bunch of stuff going on, but today we're actually something kind of close to home. So we're at Davis Intermediate School in South San Jose, and one of our alumni students, Maurice Washington, right?
Yeah, Maurice Washington the third.
The third, having an issue and we kind of feel it's tied to race, so I mean it's a discussion right now. So I'm gonna let Jimmy take it, at least to explain it. So,
well, he's one of our former students who came here. He has some challenges, and he was, a young man dealing with a lot of issues when he came here, and we were able to get him to the point upon leaving Davis to where he was a 4.0 student. He was the student body president. He was Rusty the Raider. He was the mascot at the rallies, and now he's he went to a private school. He got into a private school because of his athletic ability. He was an outstanding football player at Pop Warner level.
Well, he got recruited, right?
Yeah, a coach heard about him because he played with a former NFL offensive coordinator.
Okay. Who
ended up getting a job at a private school called the King's Academy. And his son was going to go there at the same time as Maurice because Maurice played with his son. Mm-hmm. So he knows how good Maurice is. Yeah. So that's why he recruited Maurice, said we'll get tuition, we'll make sure, drove him to school every day, made sure that he could get into school. But he made sure that Maurice was taken care of on the football field. But in the classroom, they didn't provide him any kind of extra support. They didn't provide any kind of therapeutic support.
Yeah.
They just didn't do a good job of giving him what he needs as a young man. And then he hated it there. Culturally, it didn't match him.
Yeah.
Because there was a lot of white kids.
Yeah.
And a lot of white kids. And there's nothing wrong with that.
But they're upper middle class.
There's no
Super
middle
rich.
class.
Yeah.
They're
upper class.
Yeah, they were upper class, like CEOs and everything.
Yeah.
That top 1% type money was there.
Yeah.
You
mean where Carew sends his kids? No.
Yeah.
Sorry, Bert, if you're listening, that was a dig. Anyway.
So that you got the top 1% kids there, and then they're not as racially understanding. He's a dark dude. He's really tall, extremely athletic, handsome, but still an African American male, and just so they would call him names and make racial jokes all the time. And he's a freshman playing on varsity, right?
Oh, so you can't do nothing to the seniors, the juniors doing it.
Right. The seniors and juniors don't want to hang out with you, right?
Yeah.
Can you hang out with the sophomores and the freshmen? Not really, because you play on the varsity team and they're a little jealous that you're... So then you got no peer group immediately. And then you got the cultural difference on top of that. So how are you supposed to have a good relationship there? He doesn't. He struggles. He develops a relationship with one of the coaches, has a strong relationship with him. That relationship lasts for a while. They end up getting rid of that coach the next year after his sophomore year. Maurice didn't want to do it no more. He's like, look, I'm not doing this. He opts out. He says, look, I'm just going to go back to my home school, which is Oak Grove. I want to play with my friends. Meanwhile, he wasn't developing emotionally, psychosocially. He just was playing football.
Stuck where he was in middle school because that was the last time he had connections. Yeah.
Right. He was just playing football. He wasn't socially anybody. So he wanted to be a student. He wanted to have friends, hang out with his friends, be silly, date girls.
We're still his neighborhood friends.
Right.
Because I'm sure he goes home and he sees them and they're like, oh, how's it going at that school? And
he didn't even see him because he's got to wait to get a ride back.
Yeah.
And the dude doesn't get off work till 7:38. The drive is another half an hour. He doesn't get home. All you got time to do is do homework. So you can't even kick it with your partners. So Yeah, so he ends up going to Oak Grove. Well, what does King's Academy do? Well, they send a letter saying, look, he transferred for football reasons. Unfortunately, and fortunately, Oak Grove won won CCS in football.
Yeah.
They won the championship last season, so they're saying he left to play football at
The higher
Oak Grove,
school,
at the top-notch school. So the mom ended up sending an email saying, look, this is, I don't appreciate the fact that you fired my son's mentor, my son's, leader, somebody he loved and cared about. We're going to have to take this in consideration and thinking about coming back next year. They sent that email and checked the box that he left for athletic reasons. Bam, that was it. Commissioner said, you left for athletic reasons. We're going to suspend you 1 year. Took his junior year of football away from him. He got a full ride offer
You
to
mean
Ohio State.
The scouting year?
The
They took
scouting year. Yes, the most important athletic year, so that everyone recruits you.
Yep.
Took that year away from him. Now, mind you, as a sophomore on varsity, he scored 44 touchdowns and almost set a California State record. So, yeah, keep that in mind.
So, so right now, sorry, closing the door. Right, so all that's going down. And then, the family and friends, especially like folks from Davis, like heard about it. Who started the GoFundMe?
His coach, his current football coach.
Okay, yeah. So the coach at Oak Grove, who probably was like, "That's bullshit. Like, you didn't come here for football. Like, yeah, I know about you, but you wanted to just come here.
He wanted to be with his friends.
Yeah. So he started a GoFundMe to help get a lawyer so they could contest it. It
may work, it may not work, but at least we got to try our due diligence to get some of his season back for him, because this is his future people are messing with. His opportunity to get a free education, to come out of the hood and actually do some real good. His uncle's already in the league. His uncle is Brandon Cooks, scored a 98-yard touchdown reception on the Raiders last week. But, he's legit.
No, and that's the thing, is like you have someone who, one of the things especially what football recently has shown, if you pay attention, like when you get someone with that sort of background who feels motivated to do for others, like Maurice does, like who wants to participate, wants to be part of the student body, wants to be part of the community, and they have this way to achieve. Like when they get to those positions, you do get that Kaepernick situation.
Right. They have a platform to actually address social issues.
Yeah.
Right? Everyone loves Muhammad Ali. Oh, I love Ali. But they don't remember him being called nigger and all this other stuff when he refused to go to the Vietnam
traitor
draft and all that other stuff. Yeah, when he refused to go, when he changed his name from Cassius Clay to Muhammad Ali, and people still calling him Cassius Clay, and how disrespectful that was.
Oh yeah.
People don't remember that, but they just want to remember him. For all how great. Someone said, and I don't know who it was. I was reading something. They said they fell in love with Muhammad Ali when he couldn't talk no more. You know what I'm saying? When he used to talk all this shit and used to get in people's face and blast people and call people out, they didn't love him then. They love him now that he, when he more recently he couldn't talk, and they remember and reflect on how great he is. But if he was still talking shit to this day, it wouldn't have been the same.
No. But he was, listen, he called himself the greatest. He damn near was the greatest ever as far as athletes go. Just because he had the full package.
The work ethic.
The work ethic, the skill to match it, and the attitude to recognize his own greatness.
The intellect. His willingness to investigate himself and to study. He's a legit athlete. He's a legit superstar, role model. He's that kind of dude.
And now that we have people following that lead, and mind you, like he was far more upfront about his attitude.
Oh man, in your face with it.
Yeah. Whereas you get Kaepernick, who is still attempting to be like somewhat respectful,
and who is still learning.
Oh yeah.
He's still learning.
Yeah. So I mean, he's doing his best, but people are slamming it, and you're like, what are you talking about? And now everyone else is slowly catching on. Everyone's matching because they see that bravery, and it's like, yeah, like it all started back then. I mean, when the first person was just like, I'm not going to die for you. Why should I die for you?
Exactly.
What's the point? It's a question, especially in our classes now, we've dealt with all year of like, do you have to stand for the flag? Like, yes or no? What are the expectations? How can you show respect and protest in a respectful way that acknowledges people's sacrifices for the country without showing approval for some of the actions done by the country? Like for myself, what I generally say is like, listen, like you can stand, sit, kneel, hand, repeat, whatever. But if you are going to protest, I say you protest silently, just at least to show respect for folks who have fallen for the good parts of America.
Right.
But I mean, even then, like I'm a hard time pressing that. If somebody wants to talk during it and they're like, this is how I feel the flag treats me, like, who am I to go against that?
I mean, and that's kind of what this flag represents, is the freedom to
do that,
protest, and to not have to follow a certain. That's what we stand for.
Yeah,
that's what America is. And socially, we are being held to this weird standard that is not. It's anti-American. Yeah. Like they don't see the oxymoron on that. They're like, wait a second. So some people get it, and some people understand it. And what pisses me off more than anything, we left the Maurice. Now we're talking about, a little more of the Colin Kaepernick and kind of the stance that some of the athletes are taking now.
Yeah.
What makes me even more mad is when you hear people like a Drew Brees or a Jerry Rice say, I understand what he's protesting, but I don't like how he went about it. Like, okay, what would you have preferred him do? He said he's going to donate his money.
Yeah.
He donates his time into the community already.
Yeah.
And he wants to put it out there that, look, he's not going to stand for the injustices, and he's going to put it out there that he's going to stand with the people who are disenfranchised. Mm-hmm. What is so wrong with that? Yeah. How else do you want him to protest? Have you heard a good idea from any one of those people? Anybody?
Oh, but I mean, that's always it. And like you did mention, we're kind of shifting topics. I do want to throw out just one last thing. When I post this episode, I'll make sure in the description there'll be a link to the GoFundMe. So if you hear this episode, you want to help contribute, we only need to get him up to 3,000. He's already halfway there. So I don't know if you hear it in the next couple of days. Throw down just a little bit.
$5, $25, $3. I don't care. Just something to help him out, man.
Yeah. Or, if you know a cheap lawyer retainer who can maybe bring the cost down too, that'd be great too.
Yeah, definitely.
But yeah, so I just want to throw that out for as far as that goes. But I mean, that's one of the things that I'm getting real tired of folks saying, which is that, there's a respectful way to do it and there's a disrespectful way to do it. And it, concerning these protests, a lot of other protests that have happened. Mm-hmm. And the question that constantly comes up is like, so at what point in these people's lives can they do what upper middle class white people do all the time?
Right.
Like,
okay.
So,
okay.
Looking at...
I'm waiting for it. Here it comes.
Well, I mean, yeah,
I know it's coming. I'm waiting for it. I'm waiting for you. Go ahead and deliver it.
If the Niners as a team, like if Kaepernick had taken a gun and stood out in front of the stadium and attempted to block that entrance and said, don't come in here because you're supporting the government that murders black people.
Right.
Wouldn't he have been just shot in the street?
Yeah, they would have got him.
They would have run him down.
That's a dead dude.
That's another poor dead black man, dude.
Exactly.
And I'm tired of seeing news about that. But, and then you get Ted Bundy, you get the protesters up in Oregon. Was it Ted Bundy? No, that was the serial killer. No, was that Clyde Bundy? Clyde Bundy. Okay. Sorry, Ted Bundy.
Ted Bundy. I was like, ooh, murdered. Ted Bundy, the murderer.
I was like, that's not right. No, so yeah. Was it Clyde Bundy? Clyde Bundy? I don't know. The rancher.
The rancher dude.
Yeah, it was Arizona, Nevada, something.
Yeah. Who didn't want to pay his taxes and feel like, that was a public land. He shouldn't have to pay for it, and he's entitled to it.
Exactly, and it's like, okay, well, those taxes go to pay all those service people that everyone is now claiming Kaepernick's protesting. As far as I know, Kaepernick's still paying his damn taxes.
He's paying his taxes.
So he's funding them.
He's donating $1 million.
Oh, yeah. This other guy is, threatening people with guns, not going to pay his taxes, et cetera, and, like, he became a freaking hero.
Right.
So my question is, like, why can't people of color protest like that?
Exactly.
And then the problem is, if they do, well, now they're just angry. They're just angry people that have no reason.
How can they look? This is what I look at it as. I disagree wholeheartedly with how Trump is running his campaign. Mm-hmm. It leans on ignorance, bigotry, racism.
By the way, the ignorance is a quote directly from him where he says, I prefer stupid people because they don't know.
They're more malleable. Yeah.
Exactly.
So he relies on that, but the hard part about it is he's been extremely effective at moving step by step with the approach that he's using. So why would he try something else different?
Oh, yeah.
It's extremely effective, and it's legal in this country, and he has every right to pursue his campaign in the way that he has. And I'm hoping that it doesn't work, but if he wins, then this is what we get as a country. This is whom we chose.
Yeah.
And we have to live with that. Yeah. I'm willing to live with that because I understand that I live in this country, and if that is who we as a collective select, then that's the consequences that we have to live with.
Exactly. We've had presidents who we 100% disagreed with.
Right.
I don't remember armed revolt then. Exactly.
So it's just, this is part of the deal. You gotta accept the fact that, look, he's promoting the racism and all this other stuff. And he's got rallies and all types of stuff going on. It's extremely effective. You get a guy who decides to sit and then talks to a military vet, and the military veteran says, look, I appreciate you doing whatever you're doing. He says a more respectful way to do it would be to kneel. And he came to a compromise, listened, and modified his protest based on his conversation with another man who's in the military.
Yeah.
Like, what else do you want from this dude?
They want him to be white. And they want him not to talk about black people.
They want him to shut the hell up. Exactly. Shut the fuck up, black boy, and sit down. Or stand up when we tell you and put your hand over your heart.
Yeah, get on that field and play. That was what somebody said. If somebody said well, if you don't want people making statements about politics, then don't have people stand for the pledge at all,
right,
or the anthem at all at the beginning of sports games.
Exactly.
Okay, yeah, it's just a game. We don't have to worry about the politics of it. Let's just play then.
Exactly.
But if you're going to force somebody to do it, then you got to live with their stance.
And it fucking pisses me off that he's losing endorsements because of it. Losing endorsements because of it. Wait a second. For expressing his rights, he loses endorsements. All right.
That's everything.
And people are, some people commenting on social media. Oh, that's what he gets for this and that, the other, for standing for doing this, and that's what he whatever. You can go ahead and say that, but you sure as hell you don't have the courage to make that type of decision.
Yeah. Just look at how weird our country is. Because this is how we got to the other topic. Because one of the things we were talking about, and kind of tying Maurice and all of this, is that you get these strong role models who are attempting to provide a model of respectful protest.
Yes.
Of cogent dialogue about a situation that is a very complex situation. Uh-huh. Obviously, it's not like Kaepernick studied this for 30 years.
Right.
He's doing his best to explain his very complicated feelings about that situation, especially considering, his own close immediate family. Obviously he's very bound up in it. So, you have these models, and you have, Maurice, looking for that mentor, that guide, and you have all these options out there.
Mm-hmm.
And, you're given this I mean, you know, I'm not going to call him a hero because I don't know about, you know, sacrifices, losing contracts, etc. But I will say he's definitely a role model out there for people.
Uh-huh.
On the one side, on the people of color side, as they're constantly telling folks like, well, it's because of your culture. That's why you're poor. That's why you are in these ghettos. That's why you're thieves and thugs and drug users, etc., because you don't have any role models.
Mm-hmm.
Well, on the other hand, you have Brock Turner, who, like, just straight up rapes a girl. Like, there's no question about it. That 100%
assault, rape, whatever.
Whatever.
He put something in a girl who did not want it in her because she could not consent to have it. She was passed out. He took advantage of it. He got caught. He started running. People had to tackle him to the ground.
Yeah.
Until the police got
Two men tackled him to the ground. I don't want to point that out. We're not at any point making a statement that men are evil. But in this instance, it's one of those situations is how do you explain the dynamics here of people, like our court system? How can you not say our court system is unfair, unjust, when you have people attempting to do stuff to Kaepernick? I've heard of a couple people trying to do some sort of lawsuit, sue the team for what he's doing. Which, you know, in Santa Clara Police Union.
But I got to give it to the San Francisco 49ers. I hate them because, you know, I am a Raider fan. But I have to give respect because
they supported him.
They supported him, and they're donating another $1 million to the same causes.
Exactly.
So they're backing him 100%, and I applaud the 49ers for doing that.
No, that's a huge thing.
As a community organization, that's the kind of stuff you want to see from having a sports team in your town, in your city, in your area. You want them to lead from the front.
Yeah.
And that's leading from the front. I got to give them credit for that move.
I mean, that's a huge thing. But then, you know, like I said, then on the other side, you have people who are backing Brock Turner.
Right.
And who feel like, well, he's just a kid. You know,
he's
blah,
a kid,
blah, blah,
he's learning, he's really young. It was a mistake. He was drunk, she was drunk, they were both drunk.
I mean, listen, like, you know, and people always, like, God damn, if that doesn't piss me off. Like, people always go to the, like, oh, well, you know, we're both really drunk, and one thing led to another. And, like,
there's an assumed responsibility when you participate in the consumption of alcohol.
Well, the thing, too, is I've been there. I've been drunk. I've definitely been to the point where I've passed out because I've been drinking. You know, and that I was a younger man, and I was around women. I never raped anyone.
Does that mean someone gets to have sex with you when you pass out?
Does that mean I get raped if I pass out? I mean, you know, it's this question of, like, where as a society do we stand as men?
Right.
And kind of going back to what we're saying.
What would they consider it this? Let's just flip that a little bit. And Brock Turner was in the alley, and someone was pulled his pants down and putting bottles, Corona bottles up his butt and penetrating him like that. Wouldn't he want that person to serve some kind of consequence?
Yeah, I mean,
or because just actual butt raping him.
Yeah.
Oh, either way. The lights just turned off for some reason. So
they're doing so. Sorry, that was where the pause came in. But yeah, no, I mean, that's the thing. It's like this bizarre, fucked up double standard we have in our society, where it's like we both admitted that, and if you can't acknowledge that if Brock Turner were a young black male athlete doing the same thing.
Sorry, just open up.
Yeah, sorry.
Go ahead.
If it was if you were a young black athlete doing the same thing, you know, people would say, oh, well, you know, he's a predator. It's probably related to his culture. Let's find those pictures of him with a hoodie and sagging pants. And look at, you know, that's him when he was 12. He's clearly a rapist waiting to happen.
Right.
Whereas, you know,
feed that stereotype.
Yeah.
And that narrative, right?
Well, yeah, I mean, that's the big thing. So, I mean, it's this question of, like, okay, is that 100% going to happen all the time? No, obviously not. But,
what bothers me most about that is what message are we sending to our women?
Well, and our boys.
Yes, that's a good point. And our boys.
Because our boys are the ones doing this shit.
Yes. What are we saying? What are we really saying with that? If you think that, you know, you're so kind of soft and you're not hard enough to serve your term, we can kind of forgive your very heinous, very malicious, life-changing negative behaviors. Like, he's damaged this woman's life. He took something from her that she will never get back.
Yeah. No,
she can't have that back. She can't have that opportunity to give consent or not to give consent back. Yeah. He stole that from her.
Yeah. And the thing is that, she's going to have to fight. And it's unfortunate. I mean, we put it on all people who become a victim for a part of their life, where they then need to break free from that mantle of, like, I'm just another victim. And, people get stuck in that, and it messes with them psychologically. They're not sure how to deal with other things. You're always constantly worrying. People you love, like, you don't know whether you can trust them anymore, even though they did nothing. They're there for you. But, it's this whole, like, psychological profile that comes with what happens when you violate people's boundaries.
Right.
And, what we've done with Brock Turner, like, boggles my mind. And this is what I was talking with you about the other day, was, like, I almost wish there was some way we could have just a national men's discussion.
Right.
Because I hear, I listen to the Joe Rogan podcast, and he points out a lot about, like, feminists and how crazy they are and blah, 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 blah. But he also acknowledges the flip side, too, which is that, like, it kind of needs to be acknowledged. Like, there are some things statistically that do happen to women. Whether or not you agree with the pay stuff or the rapes on campus, like, the higher numbers of abuse or victimization occur against women.
Right.
So, I mean, we have the statistics. We have women saying this for the past 20, 30 years, definitely, where their voices become much louder and much more pronounced and now spread a lot farther. I think for men, personally, I feel like we need to reclaim this conversation.
Right.
The women have pointed out the facts.
Yes.
But I'm going to be 100% honest. The women can't do much about it.
Right. Yeah, because they don't have the influence, the power to do it. There's a lot of the decision makers and the policy makers are men.
Yeah.
And without our support, they're not going to get anything done.
Yeah.
It's going to take everybody to solve this problem. When someone is wronged in the way that, a woman who gets raped is wronged, everybody has to acknowledge and say, something's got to be fucking done about this shit. This is ridiculous. And unfortunately, that didn't happen in this case. Unfortunately, you start to see more and more cases of it popping up. And you're looking at this and you start to wonder, like, what is really going on here? And in this situation, I try to take the race part out of it. But that is a major factor.
It is.
It's a major factor.
I'm sorry.
As a man of color, as a black man, I try not to look at it as that, because when you rape somebody, I don't give a shit. You are an asshole, and you deserve whatever consequences you get.
Yeah.
But if you don't receive consequences for that, I have a problem with it.
Yes.
So when you compare a black rapist versus a white rapist, I don't give a shit. They both deserve a harsh punishment. I don't give a fuck how harsh the punishment you want to give them. But when you give one a harsh punishment and one a slap on the, not even a slap, just a hand rub on the top of the hand, like, you'll be okay.
Wasn't he he was in another wing because they don't like putting rapists in with the rest of the prisoners because
shit beat out of him.
Shit beat out of him. They take him out after 3 months. They don't want to scar. Well, my question is, like, why the fuck are we putting 13, 14-year-olds in fucking prison then?
Right.
If we're worried about changing someone unalterably for the rest of their life. Because we know that clearly that judge understood that.
Mm-hmm.
My question, I would love to go back through his record and, if we ever get a computer in here or something, like, go back through that judge's record and look at all of his cases and look at all the young black men that he might have tried and how many of them ended up with just that. I don't want to damage you unalterably. You're going through some hard stuff now.
Right.
So I'm not going to put you in jail for those marijuana charges, but, just straighten out. Like,
how many times has he done that? How many times has he had... I mean, it's just... It's ugly. It's ugly. Either way, even if he did with another rape case do that with a black male, it's still a problem.
That would still be a huge problem. I don't want that sort of equality. I want...
exactly, right? You don't want that kind of equality. So that was so disturbing on a lot of different levels. And now what I hear, he's going to be like a speaker. He's going to get paid to be a speaker at college campuses and whatever else about the dangers of drugs and alcohol and how it can influence you to do things in a negative way.
Let's see, and then that pisses me off so much too, because like, you know, then it's again, you know, we as humans we love to do it. We love to get blame off of ourselves. We love to push it on drugs and alcohol as like, no, that's what made me do it. You know, if you don't learn how to like if you don't control it or you're not abstinent, like you're gonna get overwhelmed and this is what you become. And then it just reminds me of what the 40s and 30s and 50s with reefer madness and all the bullshit they try to sell us then. It's like, listen, honestly, I agree. Like, kids need to. Our approach in this country towards drugs and alcohol is a terrible approach.
Terrible.
You know, we force abstinence and then they get to age and suddenly they go hog wild and they're all alone at the same time. They don't have anybody to guide them. We don't talk about it. We look at it as shameful if they become an alcoholic, so they hide it even more. Or, you know, an addict. And it's one of those things where it's like, we're just feeding our own problem.
It's the same take we do on sex.
Yeah.
We preach abstinence, which is asinine.
Yes.
Because it's not really going to work. That doesn't work.
Abstinence doesn't work.
It doesn't work. You just
look at Colorado's programs.
You got to teach these people what it is that's going into their bodies and how it affects them. So teach children, teach students, help them understand how they can protect themselves when in situations that they are around that type of substance or in a sexual situation.
And the sexual, I mean, this, like, the Brock Turner and a lot of other cases that we're not addressing now, but a lot of them are tied into that, like, we don't talk about how men should handle that situation.
Right.
We say, oh, don't rape people. We tell girls to be careful, don't drink.
Because we assume everyone knows that it's bad to rape people.
Yeah,
right?
But even then, like, I look around at adults that I know, and there's always that question, like, some of the shit you say, sometimes I wonder.
Mm-hmm. Sound a little rapey, right?
Yeah,
like,
that you sound a
get
little
her drunk,
rapey,
man.
Dude. Yeah, exactly.
You know what I mean? Like, whoa, wait a second. Whoa, wait a second.
Time out, motherfucker. Please don't have sex with that mom. Like, don't do that shit. Don't get her drunk. Come on now. No, I mean, it's just, it's so bizarre. A lot of it's tied to our roots, but I think a lot of it's just about control. You know, the people who would benefit the most from this conversation would be communities of color.
Right.
Because, definitely. I mean, especially with, you know, I'm going to be honest here, with a heavily religious background culturally.
Yes.
Like, that plays into that, you know, the abstinence from drugs, abstinence from everything, and then
it
you get
supports the all or nothing thinking.
Yeah.
That's what it does, right? Yes. And once you have all or nothing thinking, you put yourself either in this category or in that category, and there's no room for gray. Gray is where growth happens.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah,
gray is where growth happens. When you go, it's either black or white, there's no gray, there's no growth.
Yeah.
Because people need to be able to make mistakes and kind of understand and figure out, oh, this is where I am. Not here, not there, but right here in the middle. I understand where I'm at.
Well, I mean, it's the irony, and for me, it's the huge irony of, like, I talked about this the other night in my leadership class. The huge irony of the growth mindset program. So, in California, for those listening out there, in education, there's a huge push, like, to do social emotional learning. And one of the key aspects of it is pushing this idea of the growth mindset. So the growth mindset is this idea that students' abilities are not innate, that they are something that can be grown and improved upon by just effort. You might not become you might not be able to get to Muhammad Ali's level, but you can get to a level where you can intricately understand and appreciate the beauty of Muhammad Ali's level by having reached a certain level yourself.
Are you talking about activism or athleticism?
Well, athleticism, activism, but even just intelligence, where it's like, you know, working towards it, growing, you can grow it, you can get it to be like a new concept. You know, it's not the black and white. Like, it's the gray. We can grow in the gray. And the fixed mindset is that black and white. Like, I either get it or you don't. Right. You're either a rapist or you're not. You're an alcoholic or you're not. But in education, I mean, that's where we make black and whites all the time, and we keep trying to teach kids that, like,
we teach it, huh?
Well, and it's subtle. It's subtle. Like I said, my thing that I hate the most is hearing teachers talk about growth mindset, and then I try to teach them something on tech, and they're like, I just don't get it. And I'm like, motherfucker, what is wrong with you? Like, just fucking try. Right. Just try. It takes practice. That's all it takes is practice. And when it comes to, like, abstinence-only education, we push that on them. We tell them that you're either virgin and you're good, or you're having sex and you're a sinful little fucker. Like,
right, you're a fucking whore man or a whore chick, whatever.
Yeah, exactly.
Slut shaming females.
Well, to be fair, it's guys, you're a player. Yeah. Girls, you're a whore.
Yeah.
So, I mean, and that's the way it goes.
You're pimps, you're macking, you're mac, you're stud.
Yeah, so if we're teaching that, how do we get to the growth mindset? Like, you can't. And it's, the kids know that we're being full of shit when we talk both of those out of our mouth. What time is it?
3:25. We got 5 more minutes.
No worries.
I was talking to a couple awesome young ladies this morning. I was breaking it down to them. I was letting them know, like, because we were having conversations about who the boys that they're dating. Okay. 8th graders. Yeah. Pretty young ladies. So I was just kind of trying to talk to them because they need to hear from a male's perspective that it's okay to. So I was just like, it's okay to date. I think it's important for you guys to date.
Yeah.
So you understand who you like, what you like, and what you expect from a guy.
Yeah.
I said, and what it means to have expectations on you to help somebody else, support someone else, and to be in a relationship, like the give and take. I said, but when you're dating a guy and a guy's approaching you and he's courting you, you have to decide what it is you like about him. Yeah. So when you date someone, make sure you understand what you like. So if it doesn't work out with him, at least you're taking something with you. Mm-hmm. At least you know what you like.
Yeah.
And when you see the next guy and you're like, he has to be sweet, he's got to be funny, and he's got to be tall. Yeah. Okay, those are your 3 gotta be's, right? And if he doesn't have those things, and you need those things in order to be engaged and participate in the relationship, and he falls short in one of those categories or 2, even though you're attracted to him, it's not going to work.
Yeah.
Because you're going to seek that last category, whether it's
except for the height part, motherfucker. That don't work. The height doesn't matter, people. I'm sorry. My short ass.
You know what I mean? So
yeah, no, I understand what
you're
you're saying.
Seek out what it is that they don't have. What if it's just one thing? He's got to be funny.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And then you got somebody you're dating that's super serious.
So I just depressed all the time. You're like, oh, why am I dating this dude? Yeah, no, I agree.
So I'm trying to get the girls to understand that look, this is not you. Every relationship is not your forever relationship. You're using these people to help you understand about you and how you are in relationships.
Yeah.
And what you want out of relationships.
Yeah.
So you're practicing. This is not the one and only. Because if we preach it that way, if we teach it that way, then it won't be as catastrophic to everybody when the relationship ends in middle school. Like, I never. And you know how that can be. It'll be like, hey, we weren't seeing eye to eye anymore, and he wanted this, I didn't want that, and it's time to end it.
Yeah. I mean, in that way, when you get to adulthood and when you're ready to make that more, if you decide to go that route, a forever commitment, then at least you know.
Exactly.
You know.
You've had practice.
Yeah.
Right? You understand you.
Yeah.
People are just dating to date. You have to date with a sense of purpose, of self-growth, so you can understand when you're ready to make that forever commitment, you've done the work.
Yeah, listen, that's
and
why
you're not trying to do the work in the marriage. And that's why the marriage rate is 50%, because nobody's focusing on that aspect of it.
Well, and that's why, like, when I finally found my wife, I was at that point in my life, I was very upfront with her. I was like, listen, I really like you, I really do. I know I can very easily grow to love you. I was like, but if you're not ready for marriage and kids, don't come this way, because that's where I'm at in my life right now. Mm-hmm. And we were serious about it, and she was like, okay, let me think about it. And then she was finally like, yeah, okay, I want to be in a relationship with you. We were both kind of drunk when we made that decision, but we were both like, all right, let's do this, let's be in this relationship. But, we came to that decision together, like you said, and we both saw things in each other that we really appreciated and we really liked.
Right.
And we realized that the things that we didn't like were things that we could live with.
Right.
And it's like, okay, yeah, like no one's perfect. We're going to work around that. But you don't get there unless you had other relationships.
Exactly.
And that's why I was like, for her, I told her, I was like, we're going to do this. Like, I want to live together because I want to see where you are right up front. Before you have time to like start putting on all the fake stuff. Just show me who you are as a person. If I can live with all the nasty, I'm good. Just like for her, if she can live with all the nasty. And every once in a while now, she'll still give me a hard time. Like, oh, this is terrible. I was like, you're asking me what you were getting into. Any day you have a problem with it, you let me know and we can figure it out. But you know what you're getting into. Don't ever pretend like I lied to you. And middle schoolers aren't there yet, but I think that's a great approach, man.
I think it's good for exposure. And it made sense, and they were just like, you could see them, the wheels turning. They were like, yeah, that makes sense. I said, look, don't ever compromise that. Don't compromise who you are and what you want for anybody else. I was just kind of, as a male who they look up to, giving them permission
to be themselves.
Exactly. And to pursue what they want, And I don't know how often they hear somebody tell them that.
They don't.
Especially a man who's very empowered and very, confident who he is, and looks at them and says, hey, you guys are beautiful, outstanding young women. I respect you guys. And this is some information I'm just going to drop.
And this is how you can continue being more awesome.
Exactly.
Well, that's funny that you said that because, like, I actually had that one. So I had my kids write down on a Post-it earlier this year, like, one goal that they have for this year. I was like, it doesn't have to be in school, academic, not. And then I read through all of them. And some of them I went up to them and I was like, what do you mean by, like, good grades? Do you mean, like, A's, B's? Can you be clear? And they're like, oh, yeah, I meant A's. Okay, write that down just to be clear about your goal, what you're going to try to do.
If it's not defined, you're not going to pursue it.
Exactly. But then one of the girls, she had written, I want to get better at, like, I want to change my laugh. So I went up to her and I was like, why do you want to change your laugh? She's like, well, people say it's not a good laugh. And I was like, what are you talking about? Like, I heard you laugh, like, every day in here. It's a great laugh. Like, are you just trying to control, like, when you're laughing? Is that what you... Like, I was honestly confused. And she was like, no, like, some people told me that I was like, whoa, no. I was like, don't have that as your goal. Like, you have a great laugh.
That's bullshit.
I was like, there are 3 things from your body you can't control no matter what. Because if you do, it tears you up inside. Your laugh, your tears, I'm going to be a little gross, your farts. I was like, you want to control that a little bit, but, don't hold those in too much. You hurt yourself. And she was laughing. She laughed at that. And I was like, see, you've got a great laugh. I was like, people all your life will tell you the stuff you need to change. I was like, but there are certain things about yourself that you just kind of have to love and just tell them to get used to it. I was like, your laughter is one of those. Don't change that. And so then she, she's like, okay. So then she thought about it for a bit. And then she came up with another goal. I think it was another, like, okay, I want to get A's and B's this year. I'm like, okay, that's a great goal. But yeah, no, like, these young girls, like, I saw her when she was saying
the therapist in me wants to be like, so who's telling you that?
Well,
so then what are you going to tell them when you're laughing? Because you got to be you. And why is it that they're uncomfortable with you being yourself?
Yeah.
So you need to remind them, like, look, I'm going to be me. If you want to be around me, I'm going to be who I am.
Yeah.
I'm not that level of it. I'm all, wait a second.
I'm running around the classroom with 33 kids. It's hard to have that. But I did want to address
that's my role, though. That's my responsibility. That's what I do.
Yeah.
That's my job. As you describe that, I'm like, ooh.
This is where I go next.
I'm going here. Because that's what I do for 8 hours a day.
Yeah. No, and that's the thing. It's like, but I did want to tell her. I was like, listen, I was like I said, I'm like, people are going to think all sorts of stuff. But I think your life is wonderful.
And I
think
don't
change that.
I think that's great.
And I just wanted to make that clear to her. And you could see, like, she was like you said, okay, yeah, like, why did I want to change that? She got, like, afterwards, she was like, why did I want to change that? Like, what? There's nothing wrong with my laugh.
Right.
Yeah, you're good.
Exactly.
Don't worry about it. And that's why I try to tell my kids, like, we started mindfulness training in my classes today, too. Just that idea of, like, thinking about thinking, learning how to calm yourself. But I told them, I was like, listen, we're going to start this because you guys have had a very hard time controlling your own emotions to the extent that you let other people control your emotions for you. I was like, there have been a number of days in class where I see somebody else's board, and they turn to one person that they know will then disrupt the class, and they say something or do something to get that person riled up and crazy, and then, class is off for 10 minutes while we're now dealing with this individual either yelling or laughing or going crazy, whatever. I was like, for that individual, you don't want to live your life controlled by other people.
Mm-hmm.
You want to be at a point where you can calm yourself, you can make the decision of how you want to react, and then you can go with that. And so we're slowly starting that, but that's kind of what you're saying with these girls too. Is like, calm yourself, figure out what you want out of this, who you are in this, and then make your decision.
Be deliberate about be in a relationship with a sense of purpose.
Being in life with a sense of purpose.
Exactly. Life with a sense of purpose. And I just wanted to single out the relationship aspect.
Because that's what they're dealing with. Yeah.
Most people don't do that. They don't look at it that way. It wasn't taught to me that way.
No.
I had to come to this in my, super late 20s.
Yeah.
Almost 30s. Like, you don't realize that if someone could explain that to you, if it was taught to you that that's how you approach it, then you forgive yourself for some of the mistakes that you make, and you're not as hard on yourself, and you have empathy for other people who make mistakes, and things work a lot more efficiently and amicably. You could have mistakes happen and be more forgiving and work through a lot more things, and you're not as selfish in your relationships, not only romantic but otherwise.
Yeah. No, I mean that's the huge part. It's like, okay, let's start with something small, concrete that you can attach to now that people don't talk about much, and then now let's expand that out. Like, what else can you feel comfortable with? Where else can you grow in a way that's positive for you, your life, so you can apply it in more areas? And I think, a lot of the time in education we step over that.
Right.
We do. And even, and all this other stuff, like everything that's happened in this country, it's like all rooted in that, our like avoidance of just wanting to deal with it.
Mm-hmm.
Let's push it down the road. And people get angry. Like I've talked with people before too about, like everyone, like, so I was a big Sanders supporter, and people were like, well, it's not the time for that, blah, blah, blah. You should vote for Clinton. She knows what she's doing. I was like, when will it be the time for that?
Exactly.
I think, wait, why is every generation okay with just kicking that can down the road? I was like, fuck that.
If you
I'm tired of
believe
that.
That's who your candidate is, why do you gotta wait?
Yeah.
No, how come you don't get to vote for the person you think is best for the job?
Exactly.
How come I gotta pick somebody who's not quite there, but good enough, maybe? I don't know.
Exactly. Or just straight up racist and crazy.
Right. But that's their candidate. Those racist, crazy people have their candidate that they can vote for.
I know.
And they have that right. And I don't want to take it from them because they're entitled to have that right.
But
I don't necessarily want him to be in power.
No.
But I'm not hating on their ability to vote for him.
No.
If that's who they believe.
No. And that's the thing too, is like,
should run the country.
Like, I understand what you're saying about like what Turner going around doing the speeches on campus, and like, that's isn't that part of his community service or something like that? I didn't think he was getting paid for it. He's getting paid for that?
That's what they said.
No,
I heard
that's fucked up. If you're listening to that, it's fucked up that he's getting paid. That should be community service.
That's terrible. Even if he's doing it for community service, so it sends the wrong damn message.
Yeah.
It's the wrong message.
Yeah.
He hasn't taken responsibility for it yet. He hasn't said, look, I raped this lady. I shouldn't have done that. Yeah. He's blaming it on the alcohol.
Yeah.
Jamie Foxx song.
That's because
old school back in the day.
Exactly. No, I mean the other part of it though too is just like, I think too often, especially, you and I definitely lean towards the liberal progressive side of life and our choices, and that's fine. I mean, that's also what brought us into education in a large part, or into our fields. But like, I definitely, there is a part of me that kind of also understands that issue that people keep bringing up on college campuses of like, okay, well, we don't want these hate mongers coming here spreading their speech and being acknowledged by the university and being paid by the university. And to some extent, I understand that. Like, I understand, like, not wanting somebody who spouts hate. But the other part of me, too, is like, I want that motherfucker here. Right. I want to hear everything that motherfucker has to say about her or his issue so that I know everything that they think, everything that they're going to plan to do. And that, I think that's forgotten a lot of the time in like a lot of the like the left's push back about, you know, the right wing speakers and right wing media. I've seen it sometimes when you hear about the protest and them yelling out during people's speeches at universities and stuff like that, where they're like throwing their hands up. I'm like, but that's not how you grow. You listen to these people, because if you don't, their ideas go underground, and then you're surprised when Trump becomes president, as opposed to like, I saw that shit coming 10 years ago.
Right. You listen to their perspective so you can understand where they're coming from. So then you can try to figure out a way to get them to understand how they're working against their own best interests.
Yeah. Or even then, at least plan so that you can plan for your own side's victory.
Right.
Like, because
exactly.
there's some people you'll get to a level where you're like, I literally just don't understand you, because your concept of people as white people are superior and black people are evil and Mexicans are rapists, like, that's a narrative that on my own personal level I do not understand. I think you're insane. So I won't be able to understand your insanity,
right.
But now that I know that about you, I know what you're going to be pushing for all the time, and now it's my job to push for the opposite.
Right.
To make sure that your goals aren't succeeded, because any of your goals are going to be tied to your basic racist narrative.
Fundamental ideas.
Yeah.
Your grassroots ideas that white superiority or whatever
the fuck they are.
Whatever the fuck it
the
is.
superiority, pull yourself up by your bootstraps bullshit, where, apparently just as a man alone you can succeed. You're like, oh, well, I'd love to see that. Let me just take away funding for everything public, and then you can go out into the wilderness and become a man and succeed alone.
Right.
Like, let me see how that goes.
Yeah, I mean, I don't even want to get started on that.
I know, we'll get
we
there.
get to slavery and Jim Crow and civil rights.
New Jim
I
Crow
mean, you get all different levels of it, and then we're supposed to, as black folks, pull ourselves up by our own bootstraps, and you want to sit up here and pretend like you don't know what's going on.
Bitch, be respectful in your protest.
Exactly. Yeah, you got to be respectful when you protest, but
I'm gonna call you the N-word online.
Yes.
and talk about how all these C-words need to, like, step back and figure it out and get out this country. You're like, what are you talking about?
So you can't just protest quietly by sitting. That's not enough. You better get out of this country if that's what you think. And you're just like, you got people who are violently in the streets fighting and screaming hate language and all this other stuff. The guy just sat down when they played a song. When they sang a song.
I know.
And that it's getting this much attention. And you know what?
To a flag that white people have burned.
Yes.
White
people have burned.
White people have burned the shit out of that flag.
Exactly.
But this black man, he's a fucking terrorist and needs to get out of this country.
We didn't even get to address the Olympics and Gabby Douglas not putting her hand on her heart and
that
how
bullshit.
that bullshit, even though she's part of one of the most successful, dominant gymnast Olympic teams ever. But
I wish, there's a part of me that wishes that immediately after winning all those golds, none of them have put their hands on, and then I wish that Michael Phelps had immediately lit up the biggest joint of the world and just started smoking it and just been like, fuck you motherfuckers. Weed, yeah, it doesn't let you succeed at anything.
Exactly.
I mean, it's weird fucking messages we have in our society.
We have very strange messages, and then you got Ryan Lochte, who's on Dancing with the Stars, so we get to see more of his.
That's our
his
heroes.
Idiot antics.
Our heroes, Brock Turner, talking about the evils of alcohol and drugs, and Ryan Lochte making sure that we can see the gracefulness of swimmers Wow, both fucking swimmers.
Right, the swimmers.
God damn, swimmers. You are not having a good year, and you're having a great year. It's weird.
Right, exactly.
First black Olympian.
Oh, she's badass.
Yeah, gold medalist, right?
Simone,
yeah.
I forgot what her last name is.
Wait, how did the Mercury News put it? The black woman that Michael Phelps shared his historic night with. Sorry. No, I mean, it's fucked up.
It's Merc.
Oh, shit. No, but, okay, so this episode's been kind of a down. We talked about a lot of problems. I think for the next one, what I really like to talk about is, like, let's talk about some solutions. Like I told you, like it would be chill if we could come up with like some board or discussion or something for men, like to honestly get together and start creating solutions to these problems. Because I think
it ingrained, though, not to interrupt you, but I talked to you about some of the solutions.
Oh, that's true.
Right? What did I do? I talked to those 2 young ladies this morning. How is that not part of the solution? You sat in your class and you started talking about mindfulness.
True.
And so you started in this conversation. There are the solutions.
But we do need a national discussion.
We
really
exactly. I agree, but what we're talking about is part of the solution.
Yeah.
And talking about
Thank you for bringing me back.
teaching kids, sexual education and teaching them what it means to date and teaching them
not abstinence.
Abstinence is
moderation,
ridiculous.
motherfuckers.
Yes,
moderation.
and when you're ready, you'll know you're ready. It's about self-exploration and understanding you, and when you feel safe with somebody else. Yeah. Teaching them that's how you share yourself with someone when you feel safe with that person. Like teaching them that kind of stuff. That's way more effective than teaching them don't do it.
Yeah.
Because we teach them don't do it, but every show on TV has sex in it. Right?
Don't do it. Don't drink, motherfuckers. Except for everybody who's cool drinks, just so you know. So we're gonna make sure
and there's beer commercials.
Yeah, exactly.
You can't watch football.
Don't smoke weed. Smoke weed you'll end up in prison. But just so you know, every fucking amazing hip hop artist ever, and a lot of great jujitsu artists, and a lot of great athletes have also smoked weed. But ignore that. It makes you unsuccessful. Let's just ignore that.
Right. Right.
I don't. I mean, it's. I just feel like. One of the things that needs to happen is that like men have been passive and self-victimizing in this a lot where like when you hear like the men's are like these feminists are attacking us and blah 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 blah. I don't know if you pay attention to those sites, but it's fucking hilarious watching them.
I don't have time for those dudes.
Again, I like to know my enemy, my antithesis, my people that I don't understand. Right. So I like to see what they're talking about. But it's like you watch these and you're just like, okay, they're clearly identified facts. How can we address those? How can we pull it in? How can we get a steady organization like the Boy Scouts of America that's not like a hateful organization? How can we get a Girl Scouts of America for boys in a way, an organization that preaches acceptance and teaches excellent skills? Like, I'm really always impressed whenever I see the Girl Scouts and their mantras and what they do. Boy Scouts, about 50% of the time. But like we kind of need those more concrete masculine edifices. And I know like people are, you're just gonna make more boys only clubs. Yeah, guess what? There are girl only clubs because that's where girls can succeed. There should be boys only clubs where boys can also figure out and have these discussions in order to figure out so they don't go out they make a fool of themselves in front of girls, get angry at women. Rape women because, I fucking can't communicate with you on your, I tried your way, now you're going to do my way. And it's like, well, that's not your way, motherfucker. Like, that's no one's way. That shouldn't be the way at all. That's not an option. So, I mean, that's something I'd like to look into. That's something I'm thinking about for my boy. Like, where do I want to get him in? Mm-hmm. One of the things I'm definitely going to do, like I told you before, was Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, because the gym that I'm going to start going to, I was supposed to start in fucking August. I'm too broke. I gotta wait until October now. My wife was like, I don't get paid until October. I was like, all right, I'll wait another fucking month. But like, just that, I want him to have that martial arts experience. But the way Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu causes you to think, constantly changing, constantly learning, like that's a good thing. But there's boys and girls at this gym in the same sport, and that's a big thing for me too. I don't want him in a boys only sport.
That makes sense.
You can get
that makes sense.
Damari when he's old enough until
he's got to do martial arts. He's got to do martial arts. We'll save Krav Maga until he's older.
Yeah,
but we'll get him going in something. I got to talk to the wife about it. She depends on what she wants to do, but that's a mandatory.
Yeah,
for us, our family, you have to do martial arts.
Yeah, martial arts and a sport. Like my son, he wants to go back to soccer. My wife's going to start taking him, I think, in October or November. And then in January, when he's old enough, that's when I'm going to start doing Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu with him. So one night a week he'll do Jiu-Jitsu. Saturday mornings he'll do soccer with the mom. We'll be good. We'll both get it in. we'll be happy. So I don't know. I mean, but it's baby steps like that. If you're out there and you're worried about all this, you have any questions, if you need advice, you can email me. I can always send it to Jimmy. He's got good advice for dealing with kids. Really, seriously.
Thank you.
You've always been solid on that.
I try.
All right, we both got to get out of here. This is a short episode. We kind of went over, but much love.
Oh man, it's 3:50.
Oh shit. Okay, yeah. Much love, everybody. Take it easy. We'll talk to you next time.